The following is brought to you by Digital Shelf Space, producers of GSP Rush Fit and Tour Academy Home Edition. Visit them online at digitalshelfspace.com.
Live. I'm Vanessa Collette at the Toronto Resource Investment Conference. Today I'm joined by Mark Child, Chairman and CEO of Condor Gold, which trades on the London Stock Exchange. Welcome, Mark. Great to have you here with us today.
Great to be back, Vanessa.
Mark, Condor Gold focuses on some fairly unusual jurisdictions, Nicaragua and El Salvador. What brought you to the area and why are you focused there?
Well, we think that both countries are historically underexplored with modern techniques, and that's what brought us there for the opportunity. In the case of Nicaragua, it was also a market opening opportunity after their civil war ended 20 odd years ago.
So the civil war provided some opportunities for access maybe to locations that wouldn't have been there in the past?
That's right, and the Soviet Union also had a big influence on Nicaragua for about 15 years, and they had trade sanctions against them, so the Western companies didn't go in for that period. It's now been a democracy since 1991 and is very stable.
Being in those areas, does it make it harder for you to sell the company just based on potential perceived risk from investors?
Not at all. In fact, we've got stability for the last 20 years in form of democracy, and B2 Gold is a star in Nicaragua. They produce 150,000 ounces of gold down there. So they blazed the trail and demonstrated you can put up an $80 million mine, you can get your cash out, you can own 100%. So that's made Nicaragua a really friendly, good destination to operate. And gold is the second biggest export, so it's really important to them.
Great. You've been really busy on the site with 5 drills turning, and you just completed a 23,000 meters of drilling exploration. How does that come out? How are the results?
Well, we received $10 million of funding back in March this year, and despite the falls in the gold price, we took a view that we would drill it out. So it's mainly been infill drilling. We have a resource of 2.4 million ounces of gold. And rather than cut back to one rig, that just delays the project. So we threw rigs at it, and we literally last week just completed this 23,000 meters of drilling.
That's excellent. Have you scaled back your exploration at all because of market conditions?
No, we did the opposite.
Got more aggressive.
No, we got 2.4 million ounces at 4.6 grams. So we got a really high grade deposit. And I took a counter market view, which was go for it, and hence the 23,000 meters and not just putting in 5,000 meters over a 9-month period.
Now, how is development coming along for La India?
It's progressing really well. This drilling completed, we'll hand to SRK Consulting, and they will do a resource update. So we're expecting to double the open pit indicated resource, the higher level of confidence, to 1 million ounces in one pit, which will be great. And the grade we expect to be maintained or slightly increased from 3.6 grams per tonne. That'll be out by the end of October. And we should also have about 250, 300,000 ounces in indicated ounces. So the next milestone is the resource update in October.
Okay, and you're far along with that project. You've already had the economic assessment done. You know, what's next for the project? You have the resource estimate coming out. When is that anticipated? Right.
Well, although we're London listed, we're doing everything to 43101 standard. So our resources are to 43101. As you say, our preliminary economic assessment was in March this year to 43101. So the next step is a resource update to get more to indicated ounces. Then we're going into the pre-feasibility study. And so we're doing now the other studies to that. So we should have out in a matter of weeks the metallurgical studies, the geotechnical studies. We're starting on geochemistry, hydrology, basic mine designs. So we're progressing all the other non-drilling, if you like, studies to take the company through to the bankable feasibility study.
Can you give us some numbers about the total capital expenditures that are expected on the project?
Yes, well, in the preliminary economic assessment, they put the total cost at $280 million US. But that assumed 150,000 ounce production, which over the life of mine was 50% open pit, 50% underground. The recent round of drilling is really aimed at seeing whether we can have 100% open pit production for the first 5 years, and then fund underground development out of open pit production. That would reduce the upfront capital costs. So I'm expecting that's what we're trying to achieve, and the recent drilling shows we're on track to do that. That should reduce that upfront capex number by tens of millions. So we'll have to wait and see what the final outcome is.
Excellent. Do you have any time frame for the potential return on investment for investors?
We've, as a management team, said we will take this to bankable feasibility study. We then will make a decision as to whether we build the mine ourselves or we sell the project. And that's going to depend on where the gold price is, whether X-Spot's correct and it's $2,400 gold, or whether they're at $1,000 gold. It'll depend whether the capital markets are open or shut, and it'll depend what we think is the best return for creating value for our shareholders.
How are you doing with your finances? Do you have any plans to raise money, or what kind of position are you in?
Well, we raised $10 million in March this year, and we're funded through for this year and some of next year. We're funded through to a pre-feasibility study. To go from pre-feasibility study to bankable feasibility study, at that stage we'll need additional cash to get us to that next level.
Okay. There's been some resistance to mining from locals in those areas. How has it been for you?
In Nicaragua, it's really pro-mining. It's the second big, gold is the second biggest export. The government, the total gold production in Nicaragua is 200,000 ounces. Our mine will be a mine, and we should be able to increase the country's production by 50%. So that's really material. So we're a big fish in a small pond. Lots of encouragement for the government to go ahead, and I get asked when are you going to build a mine. So we haven't got any resistance from locals. Indeed, it's the second poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. Minimum wage is 150 US a month. And one way of alleviating poverty is to get these big capital projects in and create jobs and so forth. So we haven't had any restrictions. In El Salvador, we have 1 million ounces suspended because there's a load of NGOs down there and the government doesn't know what it's doing on mining. It hasn't got a coherent policy. But Nicaragua is fine.
So it sounds like you have a lot of support there in Nicaragua.
Yes, we do.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Mark. It was a pleasure having you, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.
I look forward to seeing you again too.